In the news, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about a few things. This is important. Really, it's a shame Fiorella's not here because there's the next couple topics I want to talk about. But, Johnny, we can talk about it ourselves. We always have some great conversations because this is important right here, right?
Oh, yeah, Max Kaiser. That's what Darren Levy's saying. Sorry, Super Chats.
Max Kaiser is awesome. We have a Super Chat? Oh, we have a Super Chat. Oh, I love a Super Chat contribution. DC Thomas. Thank you for that Super Chat contribution. It is always appreciated on the couch. We love you. Darren Levy, get Max Kaiser and his wife on the show for Crypto Talk. Is Stacey Abrams his wife? Not Stacey Abrams. What's her name?
Stacy.
I forgot her name. You got Max Kaiser over there? Want me to do my Max Kaiser review?
Saying, they seemed like they were husband and wife.
I know, and they got a great show. He's got the Bitcoin thing. I'll do a Max Kaiser imitation. So here's what you got to do. It's like you're talking about global capital. We're talking about neo-mercantilism here, and that's very important. And you want to get yourself some money, put it in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is worth more than gold. That's worth more than everything. U.S. dollar's going to fall. That's what you got to do. All right.
Well, that's
back to you, Stacey.
Well, China's been investing in Bitcoin, right? So
50% of the mining, when it comes to Bitcoin, is out of China.
That's crazy.
So 50% of the mining, since it's less than a year ago, they made mining legal there.
They're try and destroy the system then. That's what they're going to do.
They're doing what they normally do, getting a hold of that money right now and holding on to it. That's what they did to be the master of our dollars. They sold us all these goods, and they held on to that money for years. Built up that capital. Now they control a lot of our currency. Because why? We sent it to them. I will never blame China for doing what they're doing. No. They're a reaction to our imperialism and what we do. Yeah. So they're going to take advantage of this situation as a country. And this is the good parts of communism, okay? They worked hard together as a group, and they made sure they pulled people out of severe poverty. So you might have all your freedoms over here in the United States, but what good are your freedoms if you live on the streets? And what are you going to look at a society that says, okay, they take away a lot of your civil liberties. They don't let you just go crazy and rampant saying everything, which I'll never be for, but they pull people out of poverty and everybody has a decent standard of living. I mean, there's something to be said for that, right? So I'm not saying it's the right way. We have to come to something in between, our own model of that, where we protect workers, we give people social safety. That's where there's a bottom line, and people don't die in the streets, and we give them Medicare, we give them medicine. Also, we got to stop this capitalism that's running just unchecked. They get socialism, they get a buyout every single time they do something wrong, and we get left paying back for everything. It always comes on the middle class, the lower people, the workers, you know what I'm saying? But we have to talk about that because when you talk about workers, removing workers out of the game, we often talk about identity politics, what the movement on the streets are. We talk about Fred Hampton, one of our favorite people, okay? And when it came to Fred Hampton, it's the coalition that he was building across, different races, religions. He was picking up from Martin Luther King's work. He was picking up from Malcolm X post-Mecca and talking about how do we get together in the streets and we take down these oligarchs. He even has this talk about when he talks about Papa Doc in Haiti, about understanding who your oppressor was. You know what I'm saying? That he could be black, white, Chinese, any person. Your oppressor is your oppressor. It doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be race. It could be race titled with something else. Not to say that racism doesn't exist. And it always seems with our South American policy that we're favoring more of the lighter skinned people in Latin America than the indigenous people. And you can't avoid that shit. But at the end of the day, it's about the global capitalist taking advantage of the workers, keeping people divided, and they never bring it up. Peter Lavelle talked about they never bring this up. Here's Boots Riley on Brianna Joy Gray talking about that and about how do we come together. Chris Smalls, the whole mentality, the Amazon worker. Listen to Boots Riley here, what he says. This is some amazing stuff. And if you haven't seen any Boots Riley movie, go see him.
The left has avoided the class struggle for the last 60 years. And I'm talking about not just the liberals, not just the progressives, the radical left itself as well has avoided the class struggle for the last 60 years. In the 20s and 30s, there were 1 million card-carrying communists in the United States at a time when the population of the United States was only 120 million. Right? There were places like Alabama, Montana, Utah, Oklahoma. Those places were considered hotbeds of communist activity by the FBI. People were doing things like there were strikes going on all over the mines, and you had places like the Midwest, occupying factories and taking it over. And in Alabama and in Oklahoma, people like shooting it out with corporate guards and things like that. And it wasn't just the white working class as well. You'd have demonstrations in the streets of 20,000, 30,000 people and it was truly a demonstration in the sense that it demonstrated something else. It said, here's 20, 30,000 people that will shut down your industry. This is what was happening in the US that caused there to be the New Deal. It wasn't just from getting FDR into office.
Right.
The New left organizing in the workplace. So then you have a different model, which is we're going to create spectacle. We're going to try to use the media.
Yeah.
Then when you subtract the actual organizing around exploitation of labor from it, then it becomes even more amorphous what you're actually fighting for.
Johnny, thoughts? Come on, baby. Hit me with it, Johnny. Hit me with it.
Well, that was interesting.
It's true. Well, you know, I said the next leader that's going to come out of this is going to come out of the labor movement, right? Okay? Because I don't think there's any way we're going to eradicate our monetary system and our way of capitalism just itself, right? You know, Fiorella hates capitalism. She believes that capitalism is a system that will always turn on itself. We'll always end up with crony capitalism. They'll reap the benefits of socialism by getting corporate handouts to bail them out when they get in trouble while we're left starving in the streets. And that's hard to argue nowadays. However, there is people out there who would talk about these communist card-carrying people, and he mentioned places like Montana, Oklahoma, Utah, these areas which are mostly conservative of sorts, they had communist people, and it wasn't about authoritarian control and lacking choices. It was about strengthening the workforce, right? So isn't there a way that we can keep our capitalist system, but we have social safety nets and we have New Deal-like type of legislation that makes sure that the workers are taken care of?
We could have compassionate capitalism.
Yes.
Yeah, we could.
Yes, could we? That is the question.
I think more people would be okay with that.
Yeah.
But
well, a lot of people say that FDR did what he did to save capitalism, that he had to give out some of his money because if he didn't give out this money, the communists were going to take over. And with these FDR new rules that came into place, which strengthened the workforce and almost killed the communists of sorts, and he made sure he crushed them because he showed capitalism could work by strengthening the workforce, and he did so. And people, were able to bankroll their weekly salaries to put stuff in the bank to build a foundation for their children and for people to come kind of build upon, but that's been slowly taken away little by little as we've been going on.
I always think that the goal should always be like a more, a free society, where it's a guaranteed basic income, guaranteed health care, guaranteed housing, what else? A ceiling.
Well, you say a ceiling that somebody can't own too much, Bezos can't own too much. You establish a floor.
You just tax them until
a certain amount. There used to be an 80% tax rate.
How
at
much
this
do you
time.
need to survive? You know what I'm saying?
You don't need to be a trillionaire.
And I know Fee would be here going off about how she wants complete and total communism, but how do we get there is the first step. And
well, the things that I would like to implant is always like the good ideas of situations. Like, in other words, a democratic socialism kind of society would be somewhat decent, better than it is right now. Okay, we have to stop with the crony capitalism, and like my friend Christian used to say, any society that pits people against each other, when you're always making about competition, it never survives because you get people eating each other at the end of the day, and we see that right now and stuff. But if there was a way to insert where we're going to keep our capitalism, but there's social safety nets, we don't have these people on the streets, we eradicate poverty, and we find a way to build co-ops within our society. In other words, small business owners that can kind of link together and get a loan from the state, the same way the loans are given out or money is given out to these big corporations, where a co-op can then own a business. And we would do that. I think the best way to do that, to interject that, would be to have a infrastructure bill. Okay, so now we're going to rebuild the roads and highways and all our systems, our transportation, our public transport, high-speed rail throughout the whole country, right? We're going to take a major project. Instead of going to these major corporations that might have all the cement and you go to one, you go to 10 smaller companies and you interject, hey, form a co-op. We're going to give you a loan to do this. We're going to let you form a board, whatnot. Therefore, we're going to get smaller owners to own stuff across the board. And if you implement that, you can find a way that capitalism works together where the big guy doesn't just eat all the small guys, where the small guy can play with the big guys because he's also protected within our Congress. Not the way they just buy off the Congress so the big guy can always eat the small guy. You see what I'm saying? So there's ideas that can be implemented throughout there, and you can find a way to make our monetary system work. I see the right is always concerned. They always say communism, communism, communism. You get a healthcare system where you have to buy into
their
this.
idea of communism is completely wrong. That's the thing.
It's about authoritarianism. That's what
they should say authoritarianism, not communism.
Yeah, but they equate the same because of they lived through World War II and the Cold Era, and
I do hate capitalism because I feel like capitalism is controlled by capital, which is what Shahid Buttar said.
Yeah,
and it drives greed. It drives greed. So I don't know. We need something different, is what I'm saying. Something completely different than what we have right now.
Yeah. In the news, Bernie's still asking for money. Jesus Christmas.
I am once again
sincerely asking you to contribute just $10. All that is 3 hot dogs and a yoo-hoo. Please, $10 to stand with me in fighting for the most progressive agenda this country has ever seen in decades. This is important. Your friend Bernie Sanders, vote for my friend Joe. Oh, you already did. I'm not going to talk about elections. Donald Trump, you should concede. Sometimes you got to say, that's Bernie. I lost. You know when he does the finger thing? Bullshit, Bernie. And you shouldn't be asking for money. This is disgusting right now. This is why I got rid of all my Bernie shirts. This is why I said, hey, listen, Johnny, he got set off on elections when it came to the TYT documentary. They produced it. They put it out there. We wouldn't have seen it without them. But you know what? It's okay. It's time you say goodbye. Now, I've already been divorced. I've left, whatnot. I think Fiorella is at the final stage. All she's got to do is change the locks to the door, and it's totally done for Bernie. That's where we're at because this is terrible right now. That you're asking for money in the middle of a friggin' pandemic. You know, I mean, that's just disgusting right now.
Well, I feel like, I don't know. I want to give Bernie
the benefit of the doubt.
Benefit of the doubt. This is his team and shit. Like, he didn't personally put this up, obviously. He's got a whole team, social media team, whatever, and he just gave up, and he's not really even doing anything, and they're just writing everything. That's what I think, but it could also be Bernie.
By the way, Friar Steve hanging out on our Facebook over there. What's up, Friar Steve? And Jesse Masood. What's up, girl? How you doing? Love you. Miss you, Jesse. Old school. Dave and Buster's. Back in the days. Remember the blue cheese fries? Man, I love those. I won't do them now. I'm a vegan. Girl. Good to see you. You know I always love you. I wish you were here. Despite COVID, I'd still give you a kiss because that's how much I love you. Yeah, you were always awesome back in the days. Next thing up for grab. All right, Johnny. AOC, she's gone full-blown establishment right now. This was here. All right, listen. This is the part that I am really upset that Fiorella is not here because this is an awesome tweet she put up. And listen to this. AOC puts, if you want to know why COVID release is tied up in Congress, one key reason is that Republicans are demanding legal immunity for corporations so they can expose their workers to COVID without repercussions. Dems don't want you to die for a check. That's what we're fighting over. Fiorella puts out false. Pelosi rejected a stimulus check on the table from Trump.
Yeah.
When Trump said he would sign a standalone bill, he goes, whatever you guys come up with, I'll get the Republicans in the Senate to get by. Because they kept on saying the Republicans in the Senate. He goes, no, I sent Mnuchin there. I got control. Give me a standalone bill to give money to the people right now, and I'll sign it.
Yeah.
Didn't do it. And Dems and Republicans both only care about politics, not COVID. Biden's team told people to go vote during a pandemic in the primary, but in the general, we magically had thousands of ballots, mail-in ballots, because of COVID. And she puts, the reason I point this out, it's both, and especially Dems right now, who hold us hostage for politics, is because you need to understand there is no difference at the core of either party. What AOC is doing is perpetuating a false idea there is, so you continue participating in the false duopoly. The faux duopoly. This is so important. I wanted to have this conversation right now, ladies and gentlemen. AOC is completely sold out to the establishment. This was the final straw for me right here. Once again, playing the whole game of Republicans versus Democrats.
Yep.
Republicans versus Democrats is to keep you off the ball, your eye off the ball. The Democrats control the House, ladies and gentlemen. Even after losing seats in this last election, they still control the House. Put a standalone bill on the floor right now. Ilhan Omar's got a bill, right? Rent relief. Put it on the floor. And if it's not put on the floor, you don't blame the Republicans. Who controls the House? It's Nancy Pelosi's decision. Nancy Pelosi's decision. And the fact that AOC is playing this game just shows you where her mindset is. We have no friends in Washington, D.C. Dick Medhurst told us that months ago. You have no friends in D.C., and he ain't lying. AOC, sucker. And like Fiorella calls them, they're nothing more than the fraud squad. Where's that? Show a picture of Mama Bear over here. Look at this, guys. Come on now. Mama Bear. We put you there to fight the establishment, not to capitulate to it, and it's disgusting that you did.
We feed them.
The next story we have, we feed them. Oh, my Lord. The next story we have is kind of pissing me off. I heard about this right now. DoorDash. People are out there right now. There's not a lot of work. So people who don't get necessarily a check coming in have been doing Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates, all that stuff. DoorDash to pay $2.5 million for allegedly misusing workers' tips. This has been an issue when it comes to restaurants, when it comes to the delivery services and whatnot.
And actually, I saw on Instagram that this was the wrong title. It was DoorDash literally stole workers' tips and is now having to pay them back.
Yep. You know how many times we've seen a situation like this? Malto Mario, the reason why I don't like Malto Mario, I never met him, whatnot, and a lot of people who say, Pasta, you look like him and stuff, is that he had to pay back $1 million lawsuit because he was taking tips from his servers and his bartenders and using it to pay his managers. And that should happen across the nation where people would take out of tips, they'd see these tips, they'd take away the tips, and they use them to pay other people out. Now, there are laws in place when it comes to California. For instance, a tip is considered a gift, so they can't tell you how that you have to share that gift. Now, there is a minimal standards, about 20 to 25%, which you have to pay out to your food runner, to your busboy, and all that stuff. And those have been set in play years ago by a board of which are fair. However, what they've been doing is they've been using these tip pools. They've been dipping into these monies, been taking them out, using them to give them to people in the kitchen, people and managers, whatnot. They've been supplementing managers' salaries all across the country on people's tips. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of nuance to this situation. Now, this is just another situation right here where a company like DoorDash dips into that pool. They take out that money. Just think about how many DoorDash deliveries have been around the country in the last day, in the last week, and last month. That's a lot of money there. If you start siphoning off those tips, you can use those to pay other entities that don't have to come out of your bottom line. They come out of the person's bottom line. And that guy carrying that bag deserves the entitlement to all that tip. So them doing this is pretty disgusting.
And a minimum wage of what it should be, which is $21 an hour, which is what it would be right now if it was kept up with inflation.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Instead, they're getting shit.
And the disgusting thing is when they go to these situations, they say, okay, well, we're going to count your tips against your salary. Fine. Don't touch the tips then. Don't take them out and use them yourself. Now you're double dipping. You know what I'm saying? Now you don't have to pay this employee minimum wage.
Yeah.
You have to pay him whatever. But now you're going to take his tip.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this before. Like, people have talked to me about in California. I'm like, listen, I'll take waiter's salary. I don't need the $12 an hour. I don't even want it. You can pay me $5 an hour, waiter's salary. Just don't F with my tips. That's where the majority of my money comes from.
Yeah.
So now they do the same things. They say, we're going to give you your due diligence, and they take from that, on top of it, highway robbery, and it's a system that we need to work out.
So, yeah, that sucks.
Johnny, Utah. Johnny got a job as a crossing guard in Utah for a certain bridge.
Look at this, guys.
This is amazing. This is a fun story.
It says, this is a happy story with all the depressing shit. But this is a happy story. It's working. Utah officials thrilled to see animals using highway wildlife overpass.
Oh, we got a clip though, right?
I'm moving to Utah.
Johnny Utah. You guys know who Johnny Utah is out there.
The overpass is filled. There's nothing in Utah. The overpass is.
This is bridge.
I'm sorry, people who live in Utah. Actually, there's a lot of good nature. Okay?
Yes.
I'll give you that. and this beautiful bridge. The overpass is filled with rocks, boulders, and logs, giving wildlife a welcome alternative to the 6 lanes of traffic on I-80.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
They used to have
were doing
problems
this in
with
Europe.
animals getting hit, right?
They were doing this in Europe years ago.
Yeah, and where's the video you have?
Is there a video?
There's a little video in here. There it is.
Is there music or something?
That's.
I'm not going to play the music for copyright.
It just says, built on the Interstate 80, the Utah Bridge provides a passage for animals to bypass traffic.
Oh.
There's wolves, there's bears, there's squirrels, there's deer, there's doe, there's elk. State officials previously said that it might take years for the wildlife to start using the bridge. New footage shows the bridge has been a success in just the second year. They're already using it.
Oh, this is the second year? See,
Second year.
I didn't even know that.
It was built in 2018 to reduce traffic accidents by the wildlife that were crossing the roads. This is awesome, ladies and gentlemen. A moose.
How come they don't do this in California?
I don't know where they have an area where maybe they would get hit and stuff, but that's amazing. A bridge built.
North California.
A bridge built specifically for animals. How awesome is that?